Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful astrology soulmates, and welcome to this video where we are going to talk about our arrival at this full moon lunar eclipse that is coming up in Pisces on September 7th. And this is big energy. Eclipse time is always big energy. It's not about small matters. It's never going to be something tiny because at the eclipse time, it's like the time when the veil between our everyday routines and certainly in Pisces, our spiritual knowing is very thin. So there are questions that get asked very specifically of us. And as we're going to look through this astrology, I want you to not only bring in the astrology of what's happening in a very practical way, but also bring in the strategy of looking in your own chart and saying, where are these questions lighting up for me? That is how you make the astrology really real. And to help you do that, I have a worksheet for you in the description box down below. It's completely financially free. Just click down there, download it, and pull it in. And not only are you going to be able to take a look at where this is happening in your own particular chart, but make it real for yourself. Where are the questions? What is the reflection? What kind of ritual can you bring in? And more importantly, how do you actually speak the language of astrology, the language of this eclipse, into your own particular life? Well, I've got that for you in this beautiful worksheet down below. And if you decide you want to pull in a little bit closer and really learn to speak the language of astrology, I would love to have you over at GAFA, the Grace Astrological Fluency Academy, where we focus on speaking, reading, and writing the language of astrology. All of that's in the description box down below for you. But of course, first things first, you've got to have your own chart. So if you do not have your own chart, please click in my description box and get one because you want to see where this 15 degrees of Pisces is lighting up in your chart. What house is this for you? And in your worksheet, you're also going to see that I broke this down by house so that you can get an idea. Even if you're not super eloquent in your astrology yet, you'll at least be able to see what house this is happening in for you. I've also got a video at the end to show you how to find that if you need a little bit of extra help. Now, in this particular chart, before we jump in and actually break it down, I want you to kind of take a mini look and see that these outer rings here, these are the houses, 1 through 12, going all the way around, okay? Now you can see that here in this particular chart, which is just a general transit chart, that we've got the moon over here in the third house of this chart. So you're going to take your worksheet, you're going to take your chart, and you're going to say, this is happening in whatever house that is happening for me. And look at the questions that this lunation is asking you. First of all, it's going to be asking, where are you ready to release control of something and begin to trust your intuition? And to the other side, where are you being asked to ground spiritually into some kind of vision in your daily life that's really a useful practice? Lots going on, lots of resources available for you, including my free worksheet. And there's also the Unlock Astrology Guide that is free as well, all in the description box down below. Now, let's talk about what's going on here at this lunation. First and foremost, again, a lunar eclipse, especially a total lunar eclipse, a complete reset, is always a supercharged full moon. And I think that this one is even more significant because, as you can see here, we've got the north node of the moon in Pisces right here, pointing us towards the direction of our soul growth. Right? We've got to go into the forgiveness. We've got to go into the compassion. We're also going to see when we break down the aspects that we've got this story of the sun being conjunct that south node over here with Mercury as well at the top of the chart. So there is this story for us where it's already pulling our focus to where we have these tendencies to cling to details and logic and the plan and perfectionism. And it's asking us at this lunation to very consciously release those habits and trust, because those habits are actually what's blocking us from having this amazing experience, right? That Virgo side wants the clarity. wants the precision, wants the evidence. And the Pisces side is going, no, I need surrender and compassion and to bring that very earthy side and the spiritual side together into an integration, into unity. All right, before we start to look at the aspects, I want to take us into the eclipse stories because this is always a great place to go back into your own life. Because if you have been alive for just a little bit, you've already been here. You've been in some version of the story, and we can trust our patterns and that we are growing in wisdom with our patterns. So, first and foremost, the eclipse story is going to take us back to the season of life that was happening once in 1998. So go back to that time and what kind of themes of surrender and needing to outgrow perfectionism were coming up for you. And then come forward again into 2006. What was unfolding for you in your past? Because that can help you see and shape the future and the experience that you're having right now, which is incredibly, incredibly important. But when we look at the eclipse story as well, it's not just in the context of the past, but we need to look at where we're at in this particular eclipse story. And this is the third pass of the Virgo Pisces eclipse series that we've been running and moving in since September of 2024. And we'll go with it all the way until February of 2027. So knowing that, start to keep some notes. Jot down dates that you're seeing myself and other astrologers put up so you can see where this is going to fall in your story. Because the story of this eclipse family actually began with the Pisces lunar eclipse happening in September of 2024. And it's going to come next into that Virgo eclipse that happened in March of 2025. They work in pairs, Virgo, Pisces, right? So now that we're back and we're at the next Piscean eclipse, which of course will be followed in just a couple weeks with another Virgo eclipse, that's going to be a solar eclipse happening in Virgo. We have these echoes that are taking us back to 1998, back to 2006, but also pulling us into 2026 and 2027. So see, we're really in a full story. And the thing to note is that each eclipse in this particular cycle that we're experiencing that we began in 2024, as it presses more into our consciousness and the reality, the Virgo and Pisces polarity, we have been being asked, and maybe you've even been feeling the story unfold between where we need to take order and where we need to take rest, where we need, work and rest, where we need a plan, but we also need to surrender, where we need the tools to get the job done, but we also need some kind of faith to let it unfold. Now, because this is the third eclipse in this series, something that can happen is we're a little bit skilled, right? We've already seen it. We've already began to experience some things already. So what it could be feeling like to you is a bit restless. You're restless. You're a bit dissatisfied. You're realizing that some old habit is not working anymore. And it's not a gentle dissatisfaction, right? The cry towards an eclipse gets louder and louder and louder. And because the nodes are obviously involved here, it's not just some like circumstantial shift. That's not what's happening here. It's like a soul level movement and prompting. So, what we release at this particular total lunar eclipse is going to free up the energy for the path that we're destined to walk and we're needing to be on. Okay, so this is a big piece of the story, and it's significant and important that you look back through your own past story and remember the best that you can what was going on at those times, and think about the questions that I'm going to ask and pose to you as to what was going on. Now, again, I just want to highlight for a moment, what pretty much every lunar eclipse means is that it's still the full moon for the month. So it is a culmination. We're being asked to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment, right? Now, here, of course, that moon with the North Node, we're being pulled. We literally feel like we're being pulled, and maybe you're seeing signals or symbols, or your dream life is very busy right now. We're pulled to this fresh soul growth story, and that's what's going to happen for us, right? You feel this intuitive in Pisces. It's very intuitive. It's a very dreamy surge. The synchronicities are kicking up in your life. You're having these revelations that maybe feel a little bit vague and cloudy, and you're like, I don't know exactly what you're asking from the universe, but I am being felt like I'm moving and being pulled forward. But that sun and that Mercury on the other side that actually creates the full moon energy, right? The sun and the moon in opposition. That sun with the south node and Mercury there is really important because you already know. You already know. You've already mastered something. You don't need it anymore. You've learned it. Now it's in the space of overuse. And in Virgo, that means that the old ways of overworking, self-criticism, needing to have the proof before I feel like I can move forward with something, right? Like, no, I need tangible evidence, right? Instead of trusting my intuition, trusting what I feel, these are going to be symptoms that we're experiencing, and every eclipse in some way brings this highlight to life. For some of you, it may feel like the eclipse is bringing this crisis of awareness. Now, for all of us, it's bringing some sort of crisis in general, not in a negative way, but it is a, oof, what do I do here? Right? Because it's showing us something is missing, something needs to be changed, something's been weighing on me without my full conscious knowledge, but now it's getting kicked to the surface. And because this eclipse is at that 15 degrees of Pisces, it's particularly going to be potent for you if you have planets that are between 10 to 20 degrees of Pisces or Virgo, or certainly any of the mutable signs, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius. And if one of those points or one of those planets happens to be at an angle for you, or you happen to be someone where this eclipse is happening on your node, this is a more impactful story because it is showing you where a life shaping shift is coming along. And in the next 6 months, it's going to unfold really powerfully for you. It's going to unfold powerfully for all of us. But if you have planets at that particular degree point, it's going to be a lot more intense. Now, as we're dealing with this tiny space of the eclipse story, or the bigger space of the eclipse story, excuse me, I also want to bring us into the smaller lunation family so that you can continue to watch this and go back and find specific dates and play them out. Now, first of all, when we come into the smaller lunation story, this is not taking us 18 years, 9 years back. We're not doing big leaps, right? We're just going into a 27-month cycle in the lunation family. So first of all, go back with this particular lunation to that March 10th of 2024. We had a new moon that was happening at 20 degrees of Pisces. So something was beginning here. And for the next 2.5 years, in a smaller way, we were going to work on this. We were going to take those bite-sized pieces of Pisces energy. Because when we're dealing with Pisces and Virgo, we're dealing with the service axes, right? Virgo is going to be the tools, the routines, the daily acts of service and devotion that we do to keep life ordered and get grounded. And the Pisces is going to be the dreams, the intuition, the surrender, the compassion that connects us to those more infinite realms. And we serve from there. So as we're here at this March 10th, 2024 new moon in Pisces, the sun and the moon are together in Pisces. So we're starting fresh here and we're looking to amp up our experience, like do a little bit more weight lifting and strength building in the Pisces area, which is urging us towards our consciousness, or it's urging us to remember that we are a small part of a greater whole. We're all connected. And the way that we move and trust and have our intuition without always needing to have the why or the full plan answered is really what we're trying to develop here, right? We cannot replace trusting of myself, my feelings, my intuition. I cannot replace rest. I cannot replace my spiritual vision with only having a plan. It's not all logic. So in this March 10th position, we started to plant those seeds of intention to be able to do that and practice that on our journey. Now, as we came forward to December 8th of 2024, we had the first quarter moon, and this one was at 17 degrees of Pisces. So we're in action. You're moving, something that you called in that March timeframe of maybe you were even visioning something you needed to bring more rest into your life. You were dealing with illness, whatever that was for you, this flow of moving forward in a new surrendered kind of way that actually it's like you surrender to win. It gives you more access to your greatest good began to kick off at that time. Now, in order to have that thing actually be functional, we have to be in action. Now, likely in your life, somewhere around December 8th, 2024, people, places, and things were falling out of your life like crazy, like quickly, even if they were old ideas, right? They didn't work anymore. You were seeing more of the side where it's like, no, I cannot think my way through everything. I'm going to have to trust. I'm going to have to feel. Maybe for some of you, something was literally stripped from you and then put you in a position to see that analysis paralysis was not going to work. You were going to have to trust the process. You were going to have to forgive someone who was maybe never ever going to offer you an apology or be able to offer you an apology. The forgiveness of yourself. You're in action at this particular time. Now, as we come forward and we're here at this full moon lunar eclipse happening at this 15 degrees, the lights are on and you're getting a complete reset about what you even wanted, how you want to create, the way that you trust the flow and inspiration in your own life, in your being, right? The way you're stepping away from the haste and the noise. I love the Desiderata, right? And you're entering into your own inner stillness, especially with the world being so big and busy and noisy out there right now. The ways that you are being open to your own spiritual downloads, your own creative vision. It's all being made aware right now. But there are things that come with that as well, right? Which we'll talk about in those aspects, but it is an opening to see how this has been working. Now, we're going to finish out this smaller lunation family when we get to June 8th of 2026 at that last quarter moon back at that 17 degrees of Pisces. And this will be bringing something to closure and to full integration at that time in, realizing that this has not been about trying to just take from you. It's been about asking you to release needing to have the tangible proof of everything, needing to move in ways where you're living and carrying the backpack of resentment, moving into more compassion so that we create global and societal unity about things, which enables you to be free, which enables you to move from the space of the spirit, which overrides but correctly drives and dictates what the mind is pulling up for us to focus on. It's a really powerful shift at this particular lunation. Now, you've got this down and you've got an opportunity to pull into your calendar, into your life, into your journal, into your experiences. Maybe it's even the experience of your children to really get the magnifying glass and say, okay, what was happening at the time around this, and how can I help myself, forgive myself? How can I help my children, my parents move forward from what's being illuminated here at this time? Now, we want to move forward to actually look at some of the aspects that are happening here at this lunation because, as we're looking at not only the aspects that are playing out here, I think about, okay, well, what are the real world manifestations? Well, first we have to understand what we're looking at. We've got this sun and this moon in opposition. You see the sun is here with the south, or excuse me, the moon is here with the north node. We have the sun here with the south node and in conjunction with Mercury here as well. And this sun Mercury, I think, is really important to our conversation. But first and foremost, having that moon in conjunction here with this North Node in Pisces at an evolutionary level, this is our call to move towards it, to be pulled towards it. And the only way we grow in the Pisces space is through growth, is through surrender, is through trusting the intuition, it's through massive amounts of compassion. It's a call to listen to those dreams and get up in the morning and write it down. It's synchronicities, it's your own inner wisdom as we're approaching hearing it and listening to it. But the sun, South Node, and Mercury conjunction up here in Virgo really has my attention, because not only is it the need to release this over logic that's been coming up, that perfectionism, that hyper analysis here, but with Mercury here in this conversation with the sun, where our minds are sharpened, they're sharpened. Right? It's like, I'm getting a burst of information about something that I already know is in an over-functioning mode. And one of the ways I know it's in an over-functioning mode is because it is magnifying my anxiety, right? This is a mutable event. My anxiety is going through the roof. I may realize right now that, maybe it's amplifying my anxiety, which leads me to some kind of epiphany, right? We go, oh, I have a lot of clarity on this right now. And for this to be impactful and for me to shape this and move towards trusting it in a different way, to move towards rest, to move towards receiving, I have to let this go. The South Node will help to expose that. Now, there are some helpers at this lunation as well. First and foremost, when we take a look at this really nice connection of Saturn having slipped back here into this vibration of Pisces, I think this is nothing but helpful for us, because we saw Saturn push forward and bump into that Aries energy and start to tell us the story of where we have to take responsibility for forming the next world that we want to live in, right? Like I have to become the master of myself. But at this eclipse, as Saturn comes back to that 29 degrees of Pisces in retrograde, it's an anaretic degree. So it's the end of something. It's symbolizing that I am bringing something to closure, and it has great weight to it. And it's Saturnian. So what will end here and make room for the beginning is serious. It's a serious ending, right? It's the disillusion, dissolution? Dissolution, yeah, it's dissolution of old stories that have authored my life, old authority structures. I think that there's plenty of karma that's wrapped up in here. It's like the karma can't be delayed anymore, it's on the way. Collectively, I do think that this shows up in, we'll start to see more shifts globally in leadership. We're going to continue to see institutions that collapse because we don't need them anymore. We see that they are not the guides of how we want to live our life anymore. Lots of clearing of systems that we've been carrying for a very long time. But on that more personal level, which is where I like to focus for us, it's kind of a space where I think we become ready and we become aware that we can carry the spiritual responsibility that comes with moving towards that north node. If you felt like you've had some unfinished business or some karma or some kind of pattern that you've been carrying, now you feel like you can get into it and you can handle it, right? You're able to take a more radical sense of responsibility for your well-being, your spiritual fitness, and leading this, or being a leader in your own space and community, because you might be a part of the leadership that's stepping up as we see other leaders are stepping down or they're transitioning out. right? But no matter what, where I think that Saturn is really helpful to this lunation is that it does Saturnian things. It demands maturity, it demands accountability. You cannot avoid the lesson forever. So now we're going to step into it. But what we close here by you standing in your maturity, it's not temporary. This is going to be a long-lasting demonstration of your spiritual change and maturity, right? There's a finality that's coming with the changes that are happening. And when the door is shut here, with Saturn at that 29 degrees, it's going to be shut for good. So over this next 6 months, while that may feel heavy, that is what also your maturity clears the way for new beginnings. And it's not a punishment. It's not a punishment. It's like cosmic pruning, right? It's like cosmic pruning because it's going to remove any of these delusions that you have about being in control of everything. I'm in control of my whole life. I'm in control of the universe. If I just do this, then this, that conditional thinking is going to start to get shifted out of the way. And that's going to leave a lot of room for Saturn to be helpful when it does move forward into the Aries cycle. Now, what we can also see here is that Neptune, one of the ruling planets of this lunation, is providing, I think, a bit of help or at least a bit of energy here, having moved forward into those early degrees of Aries. And it's profoundly symbolic. Here we are at the end, needing to step into greater spiritual maturity. And then we've got Neptune, our planet of dreams, illusions, spirituality, divine vision, at the Aries point, essentially, right? The threshold of new beginnings. And even while retrograde, Neptune here is inviting us to dream the new dream, right? Like imagine that bold new reality that maybe you couldn't see before, but now that your spiritual maturity and your ability to carry the responsibility of doing the spiritual work, not staying the victim, taking the responsibility for caring for that illness, that addiction, that secret that's maybe hiding behind the scenes, is where you can feel this sense of, yeah, I'm shaping the next vision of who I want to be when I walk into the world. It's really too bigger than that because it's the beginning with Neptune and Aries of an entirely new collective cycle, right? Neptune in Aries shifts us from that place where we've been doing more of that transcendence and that kind of work and moving between the worlds to embodiment. It is spiritual visionary embodiment now, right? We're no longer asking the dream and what is the dream of the ideals. It's like, no, get your butt in the space. Act like who you're saying that you want to be, act on it, bring that vision into reality, but that requires the spiritual weightlifting and the ability to push that spiritual strength to really be in place. So personally, I think that some of the things we can see as this lunation is unfolding in the story is that Neptune and Aries may bring more intuitive hits to you that feel immediate, right? Like they're very clear, they're very direct. The guidance may arrive suddenly and it's very clear. Or you have a knowing, or you hear, do it right now, or go to the left. You've driven home the same way your entire whole life, or you've always shopped at a certain store. There's a color that I always wear by a particular manufacturer, and they're not making my design anymore. And it's like, oof, just follow that, try something else. You're getting these intuitive hits, right? But because Neptune is retrograde, you have to be patient and give yourself patience to go that direction and have the courage to try it out. But just to note that everything that is happening is the vision is a seeding. It is a seeding. There is a beautiful new branch of your life that is going to be grown under them. So trust it. Practice what this eclipse is about. Practice having a complete reset to say, listen, I don't know if I'm really supposed to go to the left or to the right. I'm hearing left. I'm going to trust it. I'm going to go that direction and just see what happens, right? You can live it that simply. Now, we've got another helper because the other ruling planet of this lunation is Jupiter being over here into the vibration of Cancer. And there is a lovely conversation happening here. As you can see, the sun sits in a sextile and this moon is sitting in a trine. So this is a really harmonious flow. It's easy. In the sextile, you're actually taking action of some variety. So maybe you're having more, you believe that you can have more faith, more safety, more security, but it's going to be growing through some kind of family story. Jupiter's in Cancer. You know, whether it's the family home, whether it's with who you choose to call family and it's some kind of community support or something like that. But this aspect, nonetheless, is one here of healing and one of hope. But it does give us a signal that what is coming up for growth and for change is coming through the family line story. That said, where there's people, right? And where there's people, there are Piscean things going on sometimes, and that is secrets. So it is quite possible that over this next 6 months as well, while all this revelation of what needs to be let go of is presenting itself, that we run into the side of Pisces that rules the hidden, the veiled, the things that are done in the dark, and secrets are revealed, right? And I don't think that it's some secret like, oh, I found out that I was always very good at the guitar. I don't think it's as simple as that, right? It's like, something that has been kept behind the curtain is coming to light at this lunation. And that can mean that it is a it's a personal secret. There's hidden feelings, there's suppressed truths, there's a family story or secret or revelation that's coming to the table. And that changes the whole course of what you do next. As well, I think that we will certainly, after talking to Dan Waits at World Astrology, and he does mundane astrology, be revelations collectively, right? There's going to be misinformation. We already know Uranus is in Gemini. There's so much information going on right now, and it's not all true. It's just not all true. There are plenty of false narratives. There are plenty of false prophets. There are plenty of people telling you, I can help you learn to do, build, have this dream life, whatever that is for you, and they haven't done it themselves, right? There's going to be plenty of that, and propaganda is a whole other thing. So there is this level with the Pisces energy here of where this eclipse is presenting a sense of unmasking something as well, but that Sun Mercury, I really think Sun Mercury South Node right there is so important at this eclipse as well, because it's you're sharper. Something is coming into view where you're trying to look at it in very Piscean, foggy, watery kind of space. Now you're getting a little bit more clarity and a little bit more perspective, because that Virgo side is going to be like, no, I want the facts, I want the details, I want the evidence. And if all of those things mesh up, then I'll know what you're saying to me is the truth, right? It's the proof. I want proof. Show me where there's some kind of proof. And then the moon and the node here are the other side that I think we have to work with as these secrets are revealed, whether they're secrets of ourselves or secrets in the world, where we're going to need to move towards the compassion. That moon node will insist on compassion and moving towards genuine healing once that truth is revealed. And that's the balance here, right? Some kind of secret that gets exposed can feel so shocking to us, but it may also free us from some kind of illusion that has kept us stuck, kept us in misunderstanding, kept us in resentment, kept us in whatever. And now, as those two integrate, we get the best of both worlds and we're able to hear the truth, grant the compassion, and move forward. So we have a lot of help with these particular energies. Now, for some of you, just thinking about in practical ways, again, grab your guide so you can see exactly what house this is happening in for you. But just thinking about some practical things that can come up, if you've been and where you've been overworking in the hyper Virgo mode, right? The nitpicking people, always being critical, needing all of the details, running on empty, refusing to receive, even if your body is saying it's tired, then this eclipse can absolutely work in a way where it brings a burnout or some kind of health kick up that signals you or forces you to slow down, because that Virgo side is going to want you to see the truth. Now, if it's the other side, if you've been in more Piscean avoidance mode, because Pisces out of whack, it can get very big very fast, or you've been procrastinating on things, you've been ignoring things that are very clearly a responsibility, then this eclipse can also bring a very practical crisis to your table, where it's like, no, practically we need to put hands on this project and get it done, right? But it will demand your attention. But it is my hope and belief that the really supportive Jupiter aspects that are involved here are going to help you see where to take softer action to grow. And again, it's something at home. Come home first, whether it's in your actual family, your home, your being, your insides, trusting your spiritual and inner voice in that stillness, coming back to your stillness, coming back to your rest, coming back to your hips, like we talk about in the Venus Reset program, coming back to a community that is in the right alignment for you at this time, because some of you are going to be seeing that. Right? There's going to be a community you've been a part of for a very long time, and not because it's negative or bad, but it's going to be time to shed them. And then what happens? The universe never leaves a void, but where do you go next? Well, it's time to make the transition to a community that fits you better. Something will need to be surrendered so that something more aligned can go on ahead and take root in your life. This is a big eclipse. It's a big eclipse. It's big energy. It's going to shift us over the next 6 months. And because this works in our life in this big 6-month place, in addition to the smaller lunar family that we talked about, I hope that you do grab your chart, grab my free guide, my free resources. Come learn to speak this in your life, because this is big, specific work that you're doing. And if you've been feeling lost or burnt out, or you just feel like I need a little bit more clarity, or when are things going to shift and change, or how do I accept and receive and experience that downtime and that trust that if I take downtime, I'm going to be okay, right? These are all things that we talk about in my programs. Come to the Venus Reset program, learn the truth of what rest and a soft attracting connection can bring to you. Come speak the language of astrology in your own life, because this eclipse is asking us to move away from the way we were doing something if it's not working. And in the next 6 months, soften, surrender, forgive, and dream, and move into the open space that allows a more divine flow to guide your plan and your practical steps that you are taking. All right, my absolutely beautiful friends, I can't wait to hear. Let me know in the comment section down below. You know I'm down there answering you and interacting with you. Let me know where this eclipse is happening in your chart. Let me know what's been happening in your patterns of energy. Where were you at in the past? And definitely check out your next videos. If you haven't already watched your September astrology horoscope, check that out. I will also put a video at the end on how you can find this transit in your own particular chart, which will further support all of the delicious resources that are here and available for you. All right, my beautiful friends, I will see you on the other side of an eclipse. Bye.